524 Cyprus issue. We are going to cover week 8 post-1974. So I would like to talk about, we talked about the war, the division, and now I would like to talk about the politics and the society and economics in Cyprus and what's happening. So by 1974 September, the northern part of the island is the Turkish Cypriot administered area, and the southern region, the Greek Cypriot administered area, is also known as Republic of Cyprus. Republic of Cyprus became the region referred to in the international community as representative of Cyprus as a whole, and the Turkish Cypriot administered area became a de facto state. Okay? So, there are today two harsh realities on Cyprus. The first is division, the second is the humanitarian cost and the humanitarian crisis confronting over 282,000 Cypriots, nearly half of the population of the island, who are now refugees, civilian detainees, prisoners of war, or others in need of humanitarian assistance on both sides of the divide. So we're going to talk about 1974 and what's happening on the society level. You see from the map Cyprus post-1974. You see the division, which is currently the same division. The north is Turkish Cypriot administered area, also known as Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. The south is Greek Cypriot administered area, also known as Republic of Cyprus. So, what were the humanitarian consequences of the division? There are several categories of displaced persons and other people in need of help. I would like to talk about this now. The first and by far the largest category are the Greek Cypriot refugees in the government-controlled areas of the south. Official statistics in the field estimate that at least 200,000 Greek Cypriots have been displaced from Turkish-occupied areas. Some 30,000 of these people have found shelter with relatives or friends and need a minimum of relief assistance. The remainder, however, have needed shelter as well as general relief. In addition, thousands of other Greek Cypriots have been temporarily displaced because of actual Turkish troop movements in their area or the fear and threat of new military operations by Turkish forces. So let's have a look at these categories of refugees. The first one is Greek Cypriots in government-controlled areas. Satisfactorily sheltered with friends, relatives, or in second homes, rented are 57,600 people. The people living in public building schools are around 5,800. The people who were housed in permanent structures with overcrowded conditions and will have to move is 89,700. People living in shacks, garages, unfinished structures are equal to 11,000. The people who are living in tents are 9,000. The people living in open under trees and makeshift open shelters are 7,700. When we look at another category of refugees, of people who have to move, we see Turkish Cypriots in government-controlled areas, meaning Turkish Cypriots who are in the south. Living tents on British sovereign-based areas, the Turkish Cypriots are around 8,500. People in isolated villages, cut off or in controlled villages, enclaves are 22,000. In total, there are like 30,500. Greek Cypriots in Turkish-occupied areas who are living in cut-off villages or displaced are 9,000. And Turkish Cypriot refugees in Turkish-occupied areas are people who moved from the south to the north, who have no place to stay. There are some refugees from 1963 and 64 as well. They are equal to 8,500. We have another category of refugees here, and persons that are the Turkish Cypriots in government-controlled areas, a total of some 34,000. Approximately 10,000 are refugees at the Episkopi base, which is Akrotiri British base, where camps have been established under the provisions of UNHCR. The needs of these refugees are identical to that of Greek Cypriot refugees. In addition to about 24,000 Turkish Cypriots are isolated, either by choice or by circumstances, in Turkish villages or in the Turkish quarter of larger towns in the south. These villages are under the observation and protection of United Nations forces in Cyprus and are also in receiving international relief assistance. The last categories of refugees and persons in need are those in the Turkish occupied areas. These people include some 8,000 Turkish Cypriot refugees and an estimated 20,000 displaced Greek Cypriots. The Turkish Cypriot refugees are those reportedly displaced during the fighting, such as around the old city of Famagusta, and those who have fled from the south to the north. In September, some of these refugees were in schools in the Turkish sector of Nicosia. They appeared to be in good condition with no overcrowding and adequate relief assistance from the Turkish Cypriot Red Crescent Society, which is a relief society, a Turkish relief society. Denktaş said, the many drops of Greek injustice to the Turkish minority has filled the ocean in which we are all now drowning. And to many officials of the Turkish Cypriot community, the current suffering of the Greek Cypriots, although quantitatively far greater, is in principle the same that suffered in the past by the Turkish Cypriots. As one official phrased it, the refugee problem is not the numbers involved, it's the principle. And given that what they feel has been world indifference to suffering among Turkish Cypriots, they only recognize the current troubles of Greek Cypriots and say that they do not understand the current international concern over these victims of the Turkish peace operation in Cyprus. So this represents the Turkish Cypriot perspective and the Turkish Cypriot official perspective of the Turkish Cypriot leadership. The second type of refugee problem in the Turkish occupied areas is that some 20,000 Greek Cypriots isolated in such places as Kyrenia and Belapais and in several villages. The Turkish army also rounded up the male population, taking some men to destinations unknown. At the time of this, a report called Study Mission, at the time of their visit, the families of these men still had no word as to their fate, where they were in prisons or dead. And this is a Greek Cypriot perspective, calling the Turkish intervention as occupation. And you should be aware when you do the readings, you should be aware of the Turkish Cypriot perspective and the Greek Cypriot perspective. The economic consequences of the division, it was very high on both sides. It is exceptionally difficult to quantify the full extent of the damage and destruction caused by conflict, nor the consequences of the invasion on the economy. But for a state as small as Cyprus, there can be no doubt that it has been catastrophic. Regarding the extent of physical destruction, the evidence suggests that minimal bomb or structural damage occurred, with the exception of areas in and around the Kyrenia Nicosia enclave, which was the site of the original Turkish landing. Considerable looting has occurred in many areas. Looting is wartime, we can also say plundering. It is wartime stealing. Considerable looting has occurred, especially in Kyrenia, in Famagusta, in these houses where Greek Cypriots left their belongings and they had to flee. Kyrenia city, for example, has been looted beyond description, and in driving across the island to Famagusta, there is widespread evidence of looting of Greek Cypriot villages along the road. When we look at the political consequences of the division, it is generally accepted that the invasion has destroyed the constitutional framework and political structure of the government of Cyprus, as it was established in 1960, and there can be no turning back to the clock. The future of Cyprus will be a future governed by a new and different governmental and political structure. The precise form of this new structure will be a primary focus of negotiations in the days and weeks ahead. There are currently a number of options and arrangements being discussed in Nicosia, Athens, and in Ankara. Most frequently mentioned, particularly in Ankara and Washington, is some form of federal system involving territorial separation of the two communities on the island, of geographical separation between Turks and Greeks in Cyprus in order to create a Turkish majority area on Cyprus. But we should also say that we are talking about 1974, and now we are in 2016, and after all these years, over 30, 40 years, there is no settlement, no negotiation successful about the Cyprus problem. The central question here is if a Greek Cypriot government can be found to accept a settlement imposed by the force of arms and predicated on the non-return of 2 out of 5 Greek Cypriot refugees. That if that kind of a solution is forced upon Greek Cypriots, there can be little question that they will resist. Perhaps resistance with violence and resistance with a guerrilla warfare, with all that implies for the future peace and stability of the Eastern Mediterranean. The very likely outcome then would probably be de facto partition in its extreme form, in effect meaning double enosis. Double enosis means the southern part of Cyprus being unified with Greece and northern part of Cyprus being unified with Turkey. With a political, or at the very minimum, the administrative and economic union of the two separate parts of Cyprus with Greece and Turkey, Cyprus would finish to exist. Impact of partition is there are drastic changes in the population patterns of Cyprus. Because of the population exchange, Greek Cypriots moving to south, Turkish Cypriots moving to north, the changes every bit as serious and disruptive as those we have already come with the Turkish military invasion, which has in effect turned the island upside down. Most severely affected, of course, is the Greek Cypriot community, which comprises some 78% of the population. You should know here again that whenever I say Turkish military invasion, it is from a Greek Cypriot perspective. Whenever I say Turkish operation, it is from a Turkish Cypriot perspective. There were risks of this economic partition of the division. Economy of Cyprus over the past decade has grown at a remarkable rate, we're talking about 1980s. It has become one of the most dependable members of the International Monetary Fund and one of the biggest, highest rated recipients of UN Development Program funds. Indeed, Cyprus has prospered and has developed economically at a far better rate than its neighbors, including Turkey and Greece. It has one of the highest per capita incomes in the Eastern Mediterranean, nearly 3 times that of Turkey. However, this prosperity and economic performance has been based upon the integrated economy of the whole island. What political partition would mean in economic terms is to divide the island's economy. So there is a 25-minute news program on YouTube that is about division and about Cyprus issue. It's called Inside Story, Cyprus Divided 40 Years On. I would like you to watch this and then bear in mind that it's a news channel and it's a news program that is very detailed and very descriptive. So it's very good for you to watch it. You can find the link here, youtube.com. Another thing that I want you to have a look is the Famagusta Eco-City project, which is the vision for an integrated, sustainable and environmentally responsible Famagusta that promotes peaceful coexistence amongst all of its inhabitants and embraces latest environmental urban technologies. In the vision of this Eco-City project, the Famagusta Eco-City will be a center for peace and sustainability within a troubled region and magnet for high-quality trade, commerce, tourism and investment. They have a website. It's http ecocityproject.com/Famagusta/ frequent asked questions is this one. So have a look at this Eco-City project and see these are the new initiatives today that is composed of Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots, all about the future, what to do about Famagusta, what to do about Varosha. So last time I told you to watch a documentary about Varosha. I would like to talk more about Varosha now. As you know, it's an abandoned southern quarter of Cypriot city of Famagusta. Before the division of Cyprus, Varosha was a resort in Famagusta. It was a modern touristic area. It was booming. As of 2016, the quarter continues to be uninhabited and is described as a ghost town. Entry is forbidden. You see Varosha from the old days before 1974. You see the picture of the hotels, the tourists, the beaches, the sea. So the first picture is before 1974, and the second picture is after 1974. This is Varosha today. It is in a very bad condition. All of the buildings are empty. It is a closed area, and we will see what's going to happen in the future if a negotiation takes place, if an agreement, possible peace agreement takes place. Varosha is the one resort that would be open to inhabitants, to people. So you can ask, why is the area still barricaded and patrolled by Turkish troops? You should know that Varosha is protected by a 1984 UN Security Council resolution that states the empty town can only be resettled by its original inhabitants. This resolution has prevented Turkish authorities from reopening Varosha, as they are in no hurry to return it to the Greeks. Some speculate Turkey is holding Varosha as a bargaining chip for future concessions from Greece or in Cyprus. So this is again another picture of Varosha today, how it's seen, and the buildings are in very, very bad condition now. Another picture, and another picture. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen in the future? The future is not bright for Varosha. The entire city is beyond repair now. Experts have pointed out 40 years of unmaintained exposure to the elements has taken its toll on the structures. Engineers assert the city would have to be completely torn down and to be rebuilt, as nearly all of the buildings are unsafe. They have major structural damage. Roads are cracked with overgrowth, water pipes underground have disintegrated, the sewage system has crumbled, and power grid infrastructure is now antiquated, meaning very old. So rebuilding the city is very difficult, and rebuilding would require complete razing. Perhaps that is a contributing factor of why at this point there is no rush for a resolution in Varosha. So this was the week 8, what happened after 1974, the economic positions, the amount of refugees from one side to another. And next week, next chapter, we're going to see mediation in Cyprus. Thank you.